Ladies and gentlemen, life has a remarkable way of sending us lessons, experiences, and messages exactly when we need them most. Sometimes we don't realize it in the moment, but when we reflect back, we see how perfectly the timing was aligned. This speech itself may be one of those messages for you. If you are listening right now, it is because in some way you were meant to hear it at this very point in your journey. There are moments when we feel lost, uncertain, or overwhelmed. We may be facing challenges we never anticipated, or carrying burdens we thought we were too weak to bear. And yet history, philosophy, and even science show us that the right words at the right time can alter the course of a person's life. Human beings are wired for meaning, and often what gives us strength is not just the situation we are in, but how we interpret it. This is why messages like this one matter, because they awaken something already inside of you. Think about how education itself works. A teacher cannot force wisdom into a student. The student must be ready to receive it. A book on a shelf is just ink and paper until the right moment comes when you open it, and suddenly those words transform your perspective. Likewise, a speech, a story, or even a single sentence can remain unnoticed until life places you in the state of mind to finally understand its depth. That is why timing is everything. Psychologists call this the teachable moment. It is the point when your heart and mind are open, when you are ready to see clearly, and when lessons that once felt irrelevant suddenly become vital. For example, you may have ignored the importance of health until sickness struck. You may not have valued a relationship until loss reminded you of its worth. You may not have believed in resilience until life tested you in ways you never thought you could endure. And in that moment, a message of encouragement, wisdom, or truth could be the spark that changes everything. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not just philosophy. It is education in its purest form. Every culture throughout history has emphasized the power of words delivered at the right time. Ancient civilizations used stories, parables, and proverbs because they understood that knowledge alone is not enough. It is timing and context that turn knowledge into wisdom. The right message does not just inform the mind, it transforms the soul. So if you are here today listening to these words, take it as a sign that this message has found you at the right time. Perhaps you needed a reminder that you are stronger than you think. Perhaps you needed to hear that your struggles are not meaningless, but stepping stones toward growth. Perhaps you needed to be reminded that no storm lasts forever, and that clarity will come after confusion. Education is not only about schools, books, or exams. True education is about awakening, becoming aware of who you are, what you are capable of, and how you can live with purpose. The best lessons are not forced upon us. They arrive like this message, unexpected, but timely, exactly when our hearts are ready. So ladies and gentlemen, let this be the moment where you pause, reflect, and embrace the idea that everything you need will find you when you are prepared to receive it. Life is not a random series of events. It is a journey of lessons, and if you stay open, the right words will always arrive at the right time. Here are 4 strong keynotes for the speech titled "This Message Will Find You at the Right Time." The power of timing in learning and growth. Lessons only become meaningful when we are ready to receive them, and every struggle prepares us to understand life's truths more deeply. The teachable moment. Education and wisdom unfold at the moment when the mind and heart are open, and timing turns ordinary words into transformative guidance. Messages as catalysts for change. A single sentence, story, or piece of advice can shift perspective and redirect the course of one's life when it arrives at the right time. Life is a journey of lessons. True education is not limited to classrooms. It comes through experiences, challenges, and reflections that bring the right message exactly when it is most needed. Ladies and gentlemen, life has always been a teacher, but not every lesson it gives us is immediately clear. Some of the truths we encounter arrive long before we are ready to understand them, while others appear precisely when we need them most. Timing has a remarkable influence on how we learn, how we grow, and how deeply we can grasp the meaning of an experience. Consider the way we pass through different seasons in life. When we are young, we often hear advice from parents, teachers, or mentors, but much of it slips past us. At that stage, we may lack the maturity or the perspective to appreciate what those words mean. Yet later, after facing the storms of life, we recall those very words, and suddenly they feel like pearls of wisdom. The advice had not changed, but we had. Timing is what transformed those simple words into guidance that shaped our actions. Education in the deepest sense does not depend only on what is taught, but also on when it is received. A book can sit on a shelf for years, ignored, until one day when we are searching for clarity, we open it and discover that its words speak directly to our situation. The book was the same, but the reader was different. This is the power of timing. It determines whether information remains idle or becomes a source of transformation. Growth is rarely a straight line. It is a cycle of readiness, challenge, reflection, and then understand. At each stage, the same truth can mean something entirely different, because we are not the same person we were yesterday. Think about the struggles you have faced in your own life. Perhaps you endured a failure that left you questioning your worth, or a disappointment that shook your confidence. In those moments, words of encouragement may have felt shallow or empty, but as time passed and you began to rebuild, those same words suddenly carried new weight. They were no longer abstract, they were lived reality. This is how timing works. It transforms theoretical knowledge into lived wisdom. Lessons become real when they meet the soil of our struggles, just as seeds only grow when planted in the right season. The power of timing in growth also explains why resilience often develops in unexpected ways. People may tell you to stay strong or keep going, but those words may not truly resonate until you find yourself at a crossroads, tested by challenges you never imagined. Only then do you realize what strength means. This is not weakness, it is the natural process of human growth. We cannot fully understand courage without fear, nor patience without difficulty. Timing ensures that we do not just memorize these values but experience them at the exact moment we need to embody them. Educational systems too reflect this principle. Teachers often revisit the same topics with students at different stages of development. What is introduced in childhood might seem basic, but when revisited years later, the same concept reveals new layers of meaning. Mathematics, literature, history, even moral values, they all deepen in significance as our capacity to comprehend grows. It is not the information that changes, but the learner. Life itself follows this pattern. We return to the same truths again and again, each time uncovering something new, because timing has made us more prepared to see what we once overlooked. Timing also protects us. There are lessons we think we want immediately, but if they came too soon, they might overwhelm us. Imagine giving a child the responsibilities of an adult before they are ready. It would not help them grow. It would crush them. Likewise, life delivers lessons gradually, often in the form of small struggles, preparing us for the larger battles ahead. Each stage of growth builds the resilience, wisdom, and patience required for the next. We might resist these challenges, but in hindsight we see how perfectly they prepared us for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. This does not always mean a literal teacher in a classroom. The teacher could be a hardship, a moment of reflection, or even a message like the one you are hearing now. What matters is that when we are ready, truly ready, the lessons we need will present themselves. And because of timing, they will not feel like ordinary words. They will feel like revelations. When we understand the power of timing, we stop being impatient with our growth. We stop comparing ourselves to others, because we realize that everyone learns in their own season. Just because someone else discovered their purpose before you does not mean you are late. Your timing is yours alone, and the lessons meant for you will always arrive, when you are prepared to receive them. Growth is not a race. It is a journey of alignment between experience, readiness, and wisdom. So let us embrace the idea that every struggle, every delay, and every detour is part of the timing that shapes who we are meant to become. Nothing is wasted if we allow it to teach us. Even pain becomes purposeful when we see it as preparation. And when the right words, the right opportunities, and the right lessons come, we will recognize them, not because they are new, but because we are finally ready to understand them. That is the power of timing in learning and growth. It reminds us that the lessons of life are always on time, even when we feel delayed. It teaches us that every experience is a teacher, and that wisdom comes not when we demand it, but when we are prepared to receive it. And if you are hearing this message today, perhaps it is because the timing is right for you to understand that you are exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you are meant to learn. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a moment in every person's life when learning becomes more than just the intake of information. It becomes transformative. Psychologists and educators call this the teachable moment, the precise point at which the mind and heart are open enough to absorb a lesson so deeply that it changes the way we think, feel, and act. This concept reveals an important truth. Wisdom is not only about what we hear, but also about when we are ready to truly hear it. Timing, again, is the bridge that turns ordinary words into a life-changing message. Imagine a student in a classroom. The teacher may explain the same principle many times, but for the student it only clicks when they are mentally prepared. Until then, the lesson may feel confusing or irrelevant, but once readiness arrives, understanding unfolds naturally, as if a light has been switched on. This readiness is not limited to schools. It happens in every area of life. You may have heard the value of patience repeated many times, but only when you encounter a challenge that demands endurance do those words take root in your heart. The principle had always been there, but the teachable moment gave it life. Human beings often resist lessons before they are ready. We may dismiss advice, ignore guidance, or overlook wisdom that others try to share. It is not because we are careless, it is because our circumstances have not yet created the space for understanding. For example, a young person may disregard financial advice, thinking it is unnecessary, until one day they face the weight of debt or responsibility. At that moment, the advice that once seemed unimportant suddenly becomes the foundation for a new chapter of maturity. The words themselves did not change, but the timing gave them new power. The teachable moment is where education and experience meet. Real education is not about memorizing facts. It is about experiencing life in such a way that lessons become part of who we are. Words alone cannot teach compassion, but suffering can open our hearts to the wisdom of kindness. Advice alone cannot teach resilience, but difficulty can unlock the strength we did not know existed within us. When these experiences occur, and when the right message finds us in that state of openness, it shapes us in a way no textbook ever could. Consider how history has been shaped by timely messages. Entire movements for justice, freedom, and progress have often begun with a single voice speaking at the right moment in time. Those same words, spoken earlier, might have been ignored. Spoken later, they might have been too late. But at the right moment, when people's hearts were ready, those words transformed into revolutions of thought and action. This is the same power that operates in our personal lives. Messages do not simply carry meaning, they carry timing, and their impact depends on our readiness to receive them. The beauty of the teachable moment is that it cannot be forced. A teacher cannot demand it, and even life itself cannot rush it. It happens when the challenges we face, the emotions we feel, and the experiences we live through align to open our awareness. It is the reason why two people can hear the same speech. One feels nothing, while the other feels awakened. It is not the speech that is different. It is the readiness of the listener. That is why patience with ourselves is so important. If we do not understand something today, it does not mean we never will. It simply means our teachable moment has not yet arrived. In education, this principle is honored through repetition. Teachers introduce ideas knowing that even if students do not fully grasp them now, the seeds are planted. When the time is right, those seeds grow into understanding. Life works the same way. Messages may come to us repeatedly, and though we may overlook them at first, when life prepares us, those same messages will suddenly shine with clarity. It is not failure that we did not understand earlier. It is preparation for deeper growth. Ladies and gentlemen, the teachable moment also reminds us to remain open. If we are closed off, defensive, or unwilling to listen, we may miss the very message that could have guided us. But when we remain humble enough to admit that we do not know everything, we create space for wisdom to enter. This humility is itself a form of readiness. Just as a seed needs fertile soil to grow, wisdom needs an open heart to take root. Think of times in your own life when clarity struck unexpectedly. Perhaps it was in a conversation with a friend, in the pages of a book, or during a quiet moment of reflection. The words you encountered were not new, yet they touched you in a new way. That was your teachable moment. And from that point on, your choices, your outlook, and perhaps even your destiny shifted. This is why the teachable moment is so powerful. It reminds us that education is not confined to classrooms or lectures. It is woven into the fabric of everyday life, waiting for us to be ready. Every struggle, every joy, every loss, and every triumph is preparing us to receive wisdom. And when the right message arrives, it enters like a key that unlocks a door we had long carried but never opened. So let us honor the power of the teachable moment. Let us remember that wisdom will come to us when we are ready, and not a moment before. Let us be patient with our journeys, knowing that life is always teaching, even when we cannot yet understand the lesson. And above all, let us remain open, because the right message can find us at the exact moment when it has the power to change everything. Ladies and gentlemen, there are times when a single message, a single story, or even a single sentence can redirect the entire course of a person's life. We underestimate how powerful words can be when they arrive at the right moment. They do not always need to be long speeches or detailed explanations. Sometimes it is one phrase that sticks in the heart, one reminder that reignites courage, or one truth that shifts the way we see the world. These timely messages act as catalysts, sparking change that might have taken years to unfold otherwise. Think about people you know who have gone through deep struggles. Perhaps they were discouraged, doubting their abilities or questioning whether they could move forward. Then suddenly they encountered a message that spoke directly to their situation. It could have been a line in a book, a sentence in a lecture, or even something a stranger said in passing. To others, those words might have sounded ordinary, but to the one who was ready, they carried extraordinary weight. That is what happens when the right message finds us. It meets us at the exact place of our need and pushes us toward growth. History is filled with stories of individuals who were transformed by timely words. A discouraged inventor may have given up if not for encouragement that reminded him of his potential. A leader may have doubted the strength to continue until a message awakened his sense of duty. Even in our daily lives, the encouragement of a friend or mentor at the right time can be the difference between giving up and pressing forward. Messages, when delivered in season, do not just influence us, they ignite us. They become the spark that sets fire to hidden strength, determination, and hope. What makes these messages powerful is not only the content, but also the timing and the state of the listener. A sentence like "you are stronger than you think" may sound like a cliché if heard casually, but for someone standing at the edge of despair, those same words can become a lifeline. A phrase like "keep going, your breakthrough is near" may seem ordinary to one person, but to someone who has fought long and hard without results, it can be the push that helps them endure just a little longer. In this way, messages act as catalysts for change, not because they are magical, but because they connect with the readiness of the heart. It is important to realize that change often begins internally before it manifests externally. A person may stay in the same environment, face the same challenges, and work in the same circumstances, but once they receive a message that shifts their mindset, everything looks different. The situation has not changed, but their perception has. And when perception changes, choices change. When choices change, life begins to take a new direction. This is why one timely message can redirect an entire future. It changes how we interpret reality, and that interpretation shapes every step we take. Messages also carry the power to awaken what was dormant within us. Many people live with hidden talents, untapped courage, or forgotten dreams. Sometimes all it takes is hearing the right words to bring those qualities back to life. A teacher telling a student, "I believe in you," may awaken confidence that transforms not only academic performance, but the course of that student's destiny. A leader reminding a team that together we can do this, can spark unity and determination that creates results greater than anyone thought possible. The potential was already there, the message simply unlocked it. We can also see this in the way stories influence us. A parable, a personal testimony, or even a line from a poem can speak louder than hours of instruction. Why? Because stories connect to emotion, and emotion is often the channel through which messages reach the heart. Education is not only about transferring knowledge, it is about stirring the soul. When a message resonates emotionally, it becomes unforgettable. We carry it with us, replay it in our minds, and let it guide our choices long after we first hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, we must not underestimate the role of these messages in our lives. They may come through a book, a speech, a conversation, or even in moments of silence when we reflect deeply. They may come from mentors, friends, or unexpected sources. What matters is not where they come from, but how they arrive exactly when we are ready. These messages are reminders that we are never alone in our struggles, and that guidance will always appear when we need it most. And perhaps just as importantly, we must recognize that we too can be the source of such messages for others. The words you speak might seem ordinary to you, but they could be life-changing for someone else. An encouraging remark, a reminder of someone's worth, or even a story you share could find someone in their moment of need and change the direction of their life. This is why kindness and encouragement are never wasted. You never know when your words will be the timely message that sparks transformation in another person. Ultimately, messages as catalysts for change show us that growth is not always a slow, gradual process. Sometimes it happens in an instant, the instant when the right words find the right heart. That instant can redirect energy, revive hope, and set a person on a new path. And once that shift occurs, nothing is ever the same again. So let us remain open to the words that life brings us, knowing that any moment could carry the message we need. And let us also speak words of encouragement and wisdom, because we may unknowingly deliver the message that someone else has been waiting for. One sentence, one thought, one story. It may seem small, but at the right time, it has the power to change everything. Ladies and gentlemen, life is not just a sequence of random events, but a continuous classroom where every moment carries the potential to teach us something valuable. We often imagine education as something that happens within the four walls of a school, guided by textbooks, examinations, and lectures. But true education extends far beyond that. It is found in the challenges we face, the relationships we build, and the reflections we make on our experience. Every success and every failure, every joy and every sorrow, is a lesson in disguise. And the most remarkable thing about this lifelong education is that it always delivers the right message at the right time, whether we are ready for it or not. Think of how often you have faced a difficulty that seemed unbearable in the moment, only to realize later that it shaped you into someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient. That hardship was not meaningless. It was a teacher. It gave you lessons no classroom could offer. Patience, resilience, compassion, adaptability, these are qualities that grow not through memorization, but through experience. And yet we only recognize the value of these lessons when the timing allows us to look back and connect the dots. In this way, life ensures that our education is not only about gathering knowledge but about developing wisdom. What makes life's lessons so powerful is that they are tailored to us individually. No two people walk the exact same path, and therefore no two people are handed the exact same set of challenges. A message that arrives for one person might not resonate with another, because each of us is at a different stage of growth. This is why comparison is often harmful. We are not meant to learn at the same pace as everyone else. The lessons you face are designed for you, and the timing of those lessons is part of your journey. True education is personal, unfolding uniquely for each individual. One of the most profound aspects of life as a journey of lessons is that meaning often comes later. In the middle of confusion, we may not understand why something is happening. It may feel unfair, painful, or unnecessary. But with time, as we gain perspective, we begin to see how even the most difficult chapters were essential in shaping who we are. Education is often like a puzzle. Each piece seems meaningless when viewed in isolation, but when placed together they create a complete picture. The right message arriving at the right time is like adding a crucial piece to that puzzle. Suddenly what once felt random or chaotic begins to make sense. We can see this principle in the small moments as well. A chance encounter, a line in a book, or a passing remark from someone might plant a seed of thought that grows into a life-changing realization. The power of education lies not in its grandeur, but in its constancy. Every day is filled with potential lessons if only we are willing to notice them. A mistake at work can teach humility. A disagreement with a loved one can teach patience and empathy. Even silence can teach us reflection. Life is always speaking to us, always offering opportunities to learn. The question is whether we are listening, and listening requires humility. If we assume we already know everything, we close ourselves off to the very messages that could help us grow. A wise person understands that education never ends. No matter how much we achieve or how old we grow, life will always have something new to teach us. This mindset transforms obstacles into opportunities. Instead of seeing challenges as punishments, we begin to see them as lessons in disguise. Instead of feeling defeated by failure, we see it as a teacher, showing us a better way. With this perspective, every experience, pleasant or painful, becomes meaningful. Another important dimension of life's education is reflection. Experience alone does not guarantee wisdom. It is reflection upon experience that turns it into growth. Without reflection, we may repeat the same mistakes, unaware of the lessons hidden within them. But with reflection, even one difficult experience can teach us a lifetime of wisdom. This is why journaling, meditation, or simply taking time to think can be powerful tools for learning. They allow us to extract meaning from what we have gone through, ensuring that no experience is wasted. Ladies and gentlemen, the messages life sends us are not random. They arrive when we are prepared, even if we do not feel ready in the moment. Sometimes they come gently, in the form of inspiration or encouragement. Other times they arrive through hardship, pushing us to grow in ways we resisted. But whether through joy or struggle, life's lessons always guide us forward. This understanding helps us cultivate patience. We no longer rush the process of learning, nor do we despair when we face difficulties. Instead, we trust that every moment is part of our education, and that the message we need will always arrive in time. And perhaps the most beautiful truth of all is that education, through life, never truly ends. As long as we are alive, we will continue to grow, to learn, and to be shaped by the lessons that come our way. There is no graduation day, no final exam. There is only the ongoing journey filled with messages, reminders and revelations that meet us exactly when we need them. And this is why we must remain open, curious and willing to learn, not only from teachers and books, but from every person we meet, every challenge we face, and every experience we live. So let us walk through life not as passive participants, but as active learners. Let us pay attention to the messages that come our way, trust the timing of those messages, and embrace every challenge as part of our growth. For life in all its complexity is the greatest teacher of all, and every lesson, no matter how small, is leading us toward becoming the people we are meant to be. Ladies and gentlemen, as we reflect on the journey we have taken through these words, one truth becomes clear. Life is always teaching us, always guiding us, and always delivering messages at the exact time we need them. The power of timing reminds us that growth is never wasted, that even the hardest struggles prepare us for the wisdom to come. The teachable moment shows us that lessons arrive not when we demand them, but when our hearts are open to receive them. Messages act as catalysts for change, sometimes with just a single sentence capable of transforming the direction of our lives. And above all, we are reminded that education is not confined to classrooms, but is woven into every step of our journey, every relationship we form, and every challenge we endure. If this message has found you today, It is not by accident. Perhaps it is here to remind you that you are stronger than you believe. Perhaps it is here to tell you that the confusion you feel is only part of a bigger lesson that will make sense with time. Or perhaps it is here simply to encourage you to stay open, to keep learning, and to trust that the wisdom you seek will arrive when you are ready. Life is not random, it is purposeful. Every delay, every struggle, and every victory is shaping you into who you are meant to become. So do not be impatient with your growth. Do not doubt the timing of your journey. Trust that the right message will always find you, exactly when you need it, and when it does, let it guide you, inspire you, and remind you that you are never walking this path alone.